This is the Wealthy Wednesday Show, and it's designed for creative women entrepreneurs that choose to triumph in their business to have more money, more freedom, and more joy while they are making an impact on the world. This is hosted by top influencer and sought-after transformationalist abundance coach Luci McMonagle. Get ready to be empowered and inspired with tips and advice to improve your success. Welcome to the Wealthy Wednesday Show. This is your host, Luci McMonagle. Today, I am so incredibly excited. We have an enormously incredible lady, and I am so incredibly honored and pleased that we have Dr. Debra Dupree, and she has had extensive training in psychology of human behavior. But the bottom line is that we're all human, and we make choices, right, wrong, or indifferent about what we do, how we do it, and with whom we do it. But fear was the main factor that kept her back in a relationship that was 6 years long, that wasn't really healthy for her. And she's had so many life traumas and dramas happen to her that even though she had this extensive training, she didn't really understand that all of these other things were chipping away from her self-confidence and success. So today, after she's fully examined what kept her in relationships versus her vision, she's going to bring to you information and tips that are going to help you come to your true potential and be able to help you shine. So let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Debra. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Luci. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am excited to share my story after we've been talking, so thanks.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the traumas and the dramas and the fears that you've had that's held you back that you weren't even aware of at the time?
Well, yeah, I would say that probably, certainly things have happened over the years, but I've always been pretty resilient and pretty successful. And I like to say my sort of downward spiral started actually 12 years ago, and my divorce wasn't even the worst of all of it, believe it or not. But that was life-changing. I never expected to get divorced with 2 young children. But what happened after that was really a series of things happened after that. Anything from illness and death of one of my brothers, the recession, loss of a big contract, then the illness and death of another brother, a couple of uncles along the way, and it just kept going on like that. And just then trouble, recuperating from the recession, and I realized that I had become highly anxious and fearful about what next was going to happen. So many things were happening around me that were beyond my control that I just, I've always been a pretty calm person. And so it was really a sort of a startling finding that people regarded me as being anxious. And I realized that anxiousness and fear were actually getting in my way of being more successful and really developing the pathway, the business of where I wanted to go.
Wow. So you sounds like you had a lot of tumbling. You had one thing after another that started creating a pattern where anxiety became your norm, but it came in such a small incremental amounts that you weren't even aware that you were anxious or that fear was holding you back. How were you able to really become aware of that, and what did you do to start alleviating some of your anxiety and your fear?
Well, first of all, having a close friend share that observation with me that he thought I was a very anxious person, I thought, no way, not me, it must be you. But then I gave that time to really think about it. And so I go for morning walks along San Diego Bay with my 2 little dogs and use that opportunity to, as I watch the sun come up, to sort of say, where are the kernels of truth here? Are there kernels of truth there? And as I really started examining, here I thought I was recovering from all these traumas, but as I started to examine it, I realized that, yes, in fact I had. And so what I did at that point is I made some decisions to say, I have to change my life. I'm the only one in charge of my own life. And yes, these things have happened to me, but it's time to, not only be in the moment, as I like to say, think about what's happening for you, but now thinking through the moment to where did I see myself going? And I realized that in spite of what was going on around me, that, I started thinking about, if I looked ahead 10 or 20 years, because I didn't know when my life could end, given my two brothers that had passed away, that what would I be glad that I accomplished, and what would I be unhappy about if I didn't accomplish? And I realized for me is that I had always wanted to get my doctorate degree. And as a result, then I made a commitment to say, okay, it's time to go back to school. And that was such a journey in itself too, because I began to understand stuff that wasn't out there when I did my master's program many years ago, that, really about the neurobiology of how our brain works. And now I understood how I had become anxious and fearful as a result of all these traumas.
Wow. Well, so your decision to really be in the moment and think through the moment helped you determine what do you really want to accomplish in this life if you were to maybe not be here anymore, like because your brothers have passed. And from there, you were able to take your doctrines and work for your PhD, and that's when you started discovering more about the neuroscience and how our mind works and everything. Can you tell us a little bit about the audience? What would they need to know about the neuroscience and how our minds work?
Well, thanks for that opportunity. I think one of the things, that we oftentimes don't realize is that, our emotions actually are hardwired. We have 4 basic core emotions that we have a physiological response to before it ever gets to what I call upstairs. Because of what we see and what we hear, 90% of how we communicate has nothing to do with what we're saying. But instead, how our faces look, how our eyes look, how our body language looks, the sound and tone and volume of our voices. And so we actually get triggered, activated in what we call a fight, flight, freeze mode, just by what we see and hear. And so the 4 natural emotions that come up, first and foremost, is fear. I mean, we need that in our drive to survive. And so that's the very natural reaction. But we also have to be mindful of, are we overreacting with fear? And again, that's where that, high degree of anxiousness comes. And then another natural core emotion is anger. And that could be anything from frustration, annoyance, irritation, disappointment, but again, a natural kind of response. The third one is actually related to shame. And so that's why, shaming and blaming is such a negative thing, because that can be cultural, it can be religious, it can be family orientation. Some families just have a more negative perception of themselves, and that gets carried on through family dynamics. And then, believe it or not, out of the 4 core emotions, only one of them is happy, that happiness factor. And so we are sort of predisposed to negativity, and that's why we need to be mindful of, again, how we come across to people, how we sound to people, because we could be activating them and not even realize it. And so, we have to work sort of hard to get to that happy place. And I like to say, for every 5 negative emotions, let me turn that around. For every 1 negative emotion, it takes 5 positives to turn that feeling around. Because again, our bodies are physiologically reacting to what we see and hear, creating a whole mindset then about how we behave.
Wow. So there's actually 4 core emotions that we have, one of which is happy, but you have to have 5 different happy thoughts or 5 different happy things that you produce in order to negate 1 negative thought or 1 negative thing. And is there a quick tip or a process on what does somebody do if they realize they're starting to tailspin into that negativity and they're having more negative than positive? Is there something that they can do that's quick and easy, or is that more of a long process?
Believe it or not, it is very quick and easy. I like to say, we all breathe, right? It's
Yes.
a natural function, right? But oftentimes, and particularly when we're fearful or anxious, we're not breathing very effectively. And so the best thing that people can do is know that deep breathing is their natural defense against negative thoughts, anxiety, fearful reactions. And so I'll give you my Dr. D's prescription for deep breathing then. And so one thing I always like to tell people is, before you even get out of bed in the morning, just lay there and breathe deeply 4 times in through the nose and exhale slowly through the mouth to really calm down even our chest and our breathing when we wake up in the morning, because we are impacted by what we dream and all that kind of stuff. And then I like to encourage people to get used to it, make a habit out of deep breathing. And so set your smartphones for 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 6 o'clock so that your body gets accustomed to what it's like to, and just know what that feeling's like. And it's also a great tip, by the way, if you have to go into a difficult meeting or deal with a difficult person, is to go ahead and breathe deeply 3 or 4 times just to sort of calm the heart, calm the breathing, but also it calms the brain. Mm-hmm. And then when you crawl into bed at night, as you're laying there, again, go through the process of breathing deeply 4 more times, which will, again, slow down the heart rate, slow down the brainwave activity so you can actually fall asleep more effectively. So deep breathing, my folks, is really the key.
Wow. So set your alarm at 9, 12, 3, and 6, mm-hmm. and then do it when you first wake up in the morning and before you go to sleep.
Right.
And all you have to do is breathe 4 times, nice and deep, in through the nose and out through the mouth.
Mm-hmm. Right. And be mindful then of how the brain is feeling. And I always like to ask people, how are you feeling right now? Before the breathing, oftentimes chest is tight, head is heavy, and then how do you feel after you're breathing? And people say, I feel, gosh, my heart rate's slowing down. I can actually feel my chest not going up and down so fast. And of course, my head doesn't feel quite so fuzzy, because oftentimes it's that emotional content in our brain that's causing us to feel lack of focus, distracted, unable to pay attention, things like that. That's all a function of the brain physiology. And deep breathing will help calm that down.
Wow. So it'll also help you focus a little bit better, not have so much fuzzy thoughts. And I'm sure as the entrepreneurs, the creatives that are listening to the show, that is something that is common for so many of us, is we start getting overwhelmed, we start having foggy thoughts, we can't think straight, we start feeling like we're not sure if we can go move forward. And it's as simple as deep breathing. That is definitely a quick and easy tip. So thank you for that. Thank you so kindly. And, how are you able to really start? You mentioned that you start doing the deep breathing and you started realizing that the fear and anxiety were in your life. Was there other things that you started to do or started to notice in addition to the college and the training that you discovered on your journey of becoming this phenomenal speaker and individual who trains all of these incredible people, especially women?
Yeah, I really do enjoy working with women around these kinds of topics, because it actually goes back a little bit to some of the neuroscience of our brains again, because one thing that we've really learned again with the advances in the medical field is that there really literally are differences in the brain between men and women. And so some of these structural differences actually contribute to why women are much more adept at multitasking. But with multitasking also comes that sense of overwhelm that you commented on, Luci. It's just too much to do. And then too, because we're able to do more things, we actually get too much going on and then have difficulty getting things done. And so it's like all these things going on. And with that too is that, again, what's also a blessing for us can also be our bane, so to speak, because we have more white matter, we have more what we call learning centers, and so the connectivity in our brains actually allows us, again, to do more, but also experience both the emotional as well as the logical side of things, more so than men. Men tend to be more task-focused, single point focused. They're not also able to tune into the emotion as well as we are, and therefore can miss a lot of interactions with men and women, actually. And that's sort of the part that can feed into the bad boss persona that I also write and teach about. And so it's one thing I like to do is in working with women, and it's helping them understand some of these natural attributes that we all have as human beings, part of the human race, and that, how much of it's physiology, and not because we're, too sensitive or too emotional, whatever, but there's some real physiology there. And by sort of understanding that, then we can really focus on, well, who am I and what am I about? And so in that regard, really doing, some values exploration in terms of just what is important to me and what do I have going on in my life and what is it that makes me feel fulfilled? What are you passionate about? And so uncovering those kinds of things becomes critically important in terms of setting a pathway. And then setting a pathway is also hugely instrumental to our brains, because I like to say if you don't know where you're going, you won't know when you get there. And so having a path, having a vision, having your values articulated, then help you make choices almost unconsciously, so to speak, because you've already set that path in motion with your brain. So one thing I always like to ask people to do is think about what are 3 words that sort of capture what life has been like. Because usually people will go, I need help because I'm overwhelmed, I'm frustrated, I'm not as successful as I want. Okay, so now we know what you're not getting or how life has been. Now, recognizing where we are in the moment, be in the moment again, think through the moment and identify 3 words that would capture how you'd like life to be. Okay, how you'd like life to be. And what happens when we do that is we actually shift inside our brain too, from the emotional piece of our brain, again where the fear, the anxiousness, the anger, and the shame are, and shift into the higher level of our brain, which is more cognitive, logical, and rational, and more vision-oriented. And so by thinking through to your 3 words for the future, then that can sort of be your mantra that help guide you. And so I would go around walking my dogs, quite honestly, saying, I'm wealthy, and not just financial, but just wealthy in my life. I am healthy. I am healthy, and I'm doing good things to take care of myself, so hopefully what happened to my brothers doesn't happen to me. And that I'm happy. And so really use that as my guidepost as far as where I needed to make changes in my life. And it's actually that helped me reach the conclusion that the relationship I was in wasn't working for me.
Wow. And that's really simple is you take 3 words you want for the future, because you evaluate where you're at now, what's not been working for you, and then start making a mantra out of them, which is kind of funny because the mantra for me and the mantra for my show is more money, more freedom, more joy. And that's been my mantra, my complete focus, so that women have more money, so that they can have the freedom that they choose to have. Mm-hmm. And when they have more freedom, they have more joy. Mm-hmm. So it directly correlates to kind of what I've been doing, but now I can do it consciously, yes. Focusing, knowing that this is the direction of where the show is going. This is the direction of where I'm going. And then you can take that and also use that for a personal mantra. Mm-hmm. Instead of just the correlation of that. So that is so incredible. Is there any other kind of tips that you would like to talk to the women that are listening to this show? Because you really deal with people's lives, and you have so many degrees, and you've been achieving so much in your life, but you also really work with individuals that are recovering from dramas and traumas, and they may have had a really shaky past. What kind of tips can you give individuals who are just discovering that they're in a relationship that's been traumatic to them, but they weren't even aware of it?
Yeah. Again, I would suggest that sort of it's taking stock of where you are, again, being in that moment, and just sort of, where am I, and what's going on, and am I living the way I want to? Am I doing the kinds of things that I want to? It even is, I like to suggest to people, sort of visioning, look out 5 years, 10 years, and how do you see yourself living? And then what do you need to do to get there? Because again, we are, it's so easy for us as human beings to get into the rut, of continuing to do the same thing over and over again because it's comfortable, even though it might be painful. It's familiar. Change, the unknown, is also something that could activate our fear factor. And so we like life to be predictable and consistent. Yes. And yet many times we're living lives that are not predictable and consistent. And so I just encourage people to really take stock of where are you right now, and is this the life you want to live? And instead, visualize how you want life to be. And that really means looking ahead, because when you do that, then again, your brain naturally starts working in that direction and starts taking you down that pathway. So self-inventory is really important. And again, I've already used the words being in the moment, yes. Doing a values clarification and doing some visualization of where you can go. And so that's where I have so much fun working with, again, particularly women. I work with men too, but particularly women, because, we all have stuff that's happened in our lives. We all have stuff, particularly in our childhood, some of which we may not even be consciously aware of because we were so young. But those kinds of traumas and dramas do carry forward, and even though we can function and eat and work and all those kinds of things on a day-to-day basis, actually sort of, work in the back there, and sort of get in our way of really being where we want to go. And so in just a few short weeks, we can uncover a lot and set some new pathways that really then lead to what you do with them in terms of really maximizing their money and time to be where they really want to be and living good relationships.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. And you have some phenomenal gifts for our audience too. Could you tell us a little bit about these gifts that you have for them, and how can they get a hold of them?
Great. Well, thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm really excited. Since I finished my dissertation a couple of years ago, I've been trying to put what I've learned and uncovered into chunkable pieces of information that people can grasp. And so last year I launched my Unbelievable Leadership Program. And so that's a series of 5 on-the-ground workshops here in the San Diego area. But in 2017, it will still become available through webinars. So that's one thing. And you can learn more about that at my website at www.relationshipsatwork.com. And then I have monthly teleconference calls that are free for people to chime in on your emotional potential, and where we talk about how to positively and powerfully persuade people, how to deal with generational and gender differences, how to communicate through conflict, how to build and develop your emotional intelligence, and then lastly, we're taking a look at some of the gender differences in how we communicate both in business and at home. And so those are the topics that we go through, and again, free monthly call. Starting this Friday, our new series is starting up. And so again, visit my website in the events section and they can get a link to sign up. And I'm also offering a free chapter from my book, The Emotional Potential. So again, all available on my website.
Wow, that is incredible. And your website is relationships. Could you say your website again?
Sure. It's relationships and then a dash at, the word at, dash work.com.
Relationships dash at dash work.com.
Right.
Fabulous. So definitely, as my audience, go to her website, sign up for her free chapter, get on the calls. I'm definitely looking at getting on the calls myself too, and really starting to discover what's been holding you back emotionally. What are some of those dramas and traumas from your childhood that you might not remember, but maybe your back of your mind back here is remembering, and that's holding you back. And Dr. Debra, she'll be able to truly bring you through a process in just a few weeks' time. I know you're extremely busy, you're an entrepreneur, you're doing so many different things, and this is going to help you go further faster, and it'll also help you to have more happiness in your life, and that you cannot buy.
Yep. That comes from within.
Yes, that does. That comes from within. Dr. Debra, I am so grateful. I am so appreciative that you've taken time out of your incredibly busy schedule to be on the Wealthy Wednesday show. And is there any parting tips that you would like to leave our audience with?
Well, I would just like to say, look inside and then go forth and do great things.
Absolutely. Look inside and go forth and do great things. And I will take that advice personally. I will look inside and I will go great things. So thank you for being on the Wealthy Wednesday show. I'm really grateful for you.
Thank you so much, Luci. It's been delightful to be here.
Fabulous. So I'd like to thank my audience. You are the reason why I produce this every single week for you. I bring you top, incredible experts that are so generous and so caring and so giving, and we all really, truly desire that you succeed in life. You succeed in your business so that you can have more freedom, so you can have more money, and so you can have more joy and happiness in your life. Get a hold of me at lucimcmonagle.com. Let me know, what would you like to hear about? What topics would you like me to talk about? What experts would you like me to have on my show? And I will do my best to bring this information to you. So until next time, thank you for listening to the Wealthy Wednesday show, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to another great episode of the Wealthy Wednesday show. This is your host, Luci McMonagle. I am so grateful that you have been listening, and you can catch the next episode of the Wealthy Wednesday show at 5 p.m. Pacific every single Wednesday. You can also get a free gift from me, your host, Luci McMonagle, at my website at lucimcmonagle.com. That's lucimcmonagle.com. So be sure to stop by my website and get your free gift. Until next time, abundant blessings.